My name's Felton. You won't really see it from my baby face, but I've been in the business for 30 plus years now. When I look at it, I think, Jesus, and as Joe said, you know, the talent's not out there. I fell into the business, you know, I didn't choose to go in there as most people don't nowadays. A little bit about the challenges and trends I'm going to go through, mostly to do with the trends, and it's going to be to do with our favourite topic of the day and of forever really, not the weather, but sustainability to a point, and what we're looking at trying to do from our company perspective to try and make things better, because to a point labels are looked at and plastic packaging are looked at as, well, the devil's work, you know, witchcraft, and we should all be burnt. But actually we've got a purpose, as everybody has, and we do have some solutions to make things better for the Greta Thunbergs of the world. But anyway, a little bit about who we are. We're one of the world's leading label companies. We don't just do labels as in a normal PSL, paper label, etc. We also do shrink sleeves. We also produce smart and secure, as we call it, the QR codes for anti-counterfeiting, tamper evidences, you name it, we do it. We've got a lot of years of packaging heritage within us. A lot of those are pluses because we're an evolving company. We're always getting bigger rather than smaller. In fact, that 4,000 plus is probably 4,200 plus now, and 10,000 plus customers globally is going to be ever increasing. But that's positive, it's good, you know, it's not going away. So from our side, we've got our ambition is to transform the packaging industry to make it better than where it is. You know, we've all been lax with what we've been doing over the years because of various reasons. You know, we're looking to make things better where we can. You know, connecting brands, connecting consumers together, that's what packaging does. You know, nowadays, as Joe was mentioning about the shelf space, and also from an advertising perspective, you know, all these adverts are gone now, watershed times, so on and so forth. So more often than not, you can only utilise your packaging to make it as pretty as possible. Pretty sells. It's quite simple, doesn't it? In the future, maybe brown will sell, as in cardboard and the like, but at the moment we know colour is where we're at. So from our global footprint, apologies for the commercial, my commercial side. We're predominantly in Europe at the moment. We're not in America, LATAM, and the North America side are ever evolving. But again, 42 production facilities. If I look at my emails, I think that's 45 production facilities since I put this together. But that's a good thing, because we're trying to take in, we're not just taking in, you know, companies that are on the down. We're trying to get companies that are part of our footprint and work towards them making it better as well. Lots of technology. We talked a lot about the digital side. We're not just within a digital, although we've got 60 plus digital presses, again 65 now. We're looking at the hybrid, the gravure, flexo and offset still. Gravure is still there, but it's predominantly more coming out as we're seeing, unless it needs to be really special from other forms. Again, just a little bit, we're pioneers, we feel, of the digital printing side. We've got lots of experience, 25 years plus, and our Trittau site in Germany, we feel is sort of a centre of excellence when it comes to digital label technology and printing. And the same thing, like everybody says, we've got all these customers that we're dealing with and we're really happy about it, and we'll continue to do it. So, a little bit, why plastics for packaging? Unfortunately, we're going to be going over a lot of the other things that others have said. Jo was very eloquent in what she said about all of this. But for the most part, we look at it in different areas. The durability. I'm looking at this from potentially a PET perspective. long polymer chains, I won't go into the science because like a guy who said earlier, I don't really know the science, but I know that from a raw material perspective, within a circular economy, you can keep on recycling it almost to within an endless perspective. Safety, plastic packaging is shatterproof. It can increase the lifespan of a lot of products. Hygienic, it's good for foodstuffs. You don't need to do a lot to it at times to give you a good product. And the security side, with a tamper evidence, security seals, you know, plastics can be produced, they can be changed in shape, almost infinite shapes and sizes. We're here to stay. Burn me if you want. So, for me, the packaging isn't the issue, it's the packaging waste. So, a little bit about what is plastic waste. Technically, from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, plastic waste or plastic pollution is the accumulation of plastic objects that adversely affects wildlife, habitat, and humans. Now, there will always be packaging that goes to the waste because it's the human thing. I can turn around and say to all of you guys here, please put your packaging in that recycling bin. Please put it in there. Please take your packaging home with you. 90% of you may do, 10% of you may not do. We're never going to change that. That's the human reality. But that doesn't mean to say that we can't do the best that we can for ourselves. Again, sounds a bit, I don't want to mention Greta Thunberg again, but I will. It sounds a bit corny, but that is life, that is the truth at the end of the day. So, what can we do to help? From UK side, collection is the most critical for me, in my opinion. We can look around, we're all from different parts of the UK. Every part, I can look across my road and they've got different recycling bins than I have. And some will take flexibles, most don't. Some will take PET, some won't take HDPE even, or polystyrene. You know, everything is different. So collection is critical, and it's important from a governmental perspective to get that aligned throughout, first of all from our side, from out the UK, but also from a European base as well. So, like I say, each local authority just collects lots of different things. I've been to recycling plants and they turn around and say, yeah, we've got it, but there's no money in it, so why do we recycle it? There's no point, we can't do anything with it. So it just ends up going to energy recovery, as it's nicely called. Less landfill, but it is still going to landfill. That's reality from a UK perspective and from a lot of other areas. Now, the plastic waste, don't get me wrong, we're doing really well with it from a UK, from a European, from a Western perspective. But that is down to the fact that we do collect. A lot of the markets don't collect the Asian side. A lot of it just gets thrown to one side, it gets collected into the rivers, and it moves on. And that's where a lot of the packaging waste goes. But again, it doesn't mean to say that just because we're making the biggest amount of waste that we can't do anything about it. Anyway, when we move on, I don't know whether all of you, this is just a quick bit on how it's reclaimed. So you've got the MRF, a materials recovery facility. They're the guys that get all of the plastics, the cardboard, the glass, paper, everything, they get it all together. They will then separate it all together into bales, and then it'll go off to the individual areas. So the PRFs, plastic recycling recovery facilities. And they will then sort their different grades of plastic depending upon how their sensors work. So all these are near infrared reflectant sensors. They will look at the packaging. The infrared will then bounce back a signature, and then it will get ejected into a particular bale. So it is good, it is positive. But from a PRF perspective, just a quick one, as you can see, collection and recycling is a lot different between each country. From a Germany perspective, they've got the DPG, which is a DRS system. We haven't at the moment. A lot of these places have got the DRS and the collection systems. Deposit return is a good way of increasing the collection. Because at the end of the day, anyone can turn around and say, well, we want 100% recycled bottles. But if you're not collecting them, then you haven't got the recycler to turn back into the bottles. So that's the big issue. Now, what I'm here today from my company's perspective is just going to give you a little bit of a lowdown from the sustainability side, what we're trying to do and what our portfolio is to make it better and to make it more sustainable. So I've gone through this already at the start. We want to be world-class at sustainable packaging. So not just the packaging, but from a company perspective. So as you can see from there, we've got what we call 100% clean electricity. This was in 2021. Carbon neutrality by 2025. Some people may call that greenwashing. We know the facts, but if again, at least if we're doing something, it's better than not doing anything. 100% recyclable products in 2030, and many more leadership roles from a female perspective. Lots more ladies out there, as Joe would like. So, our trend from a recycling perspective, we're looking at different options to help depending upon which product you look at. So, we've got some of these names are quite interesting, and they're put together by some of my European friends. So from an English perspective, they sound a little bit interesting, like Star Crisp. I don't really know how you'd use it. But the whole idea of this Star Crisp is a shrink sleeve. A shrink sleeve generally is a PETG, which is a glycol-modified polyethylene terephthalate. Easy for you to say. PETG versus a normal PET bottle, they don't like each other. They don't recycle very well together. They've got different, to put it simple, they've got different melt points. So the PETG will melt before the PET bottle, the PETE, and then it will stick itself to the bottle granular, and then, which is called clumping, and then it becomes very difficult to recycle it. So from this side, we've got this Star Crisp. Star Crisp is a crystallizable PET, meaning that actually it can be recycled together with the bottle. So in this instance, in conjunction with washable inks, de-inking technology, you can end up with a clean flake that can be recycled with the PET bottle. Mono flexible material. This can be recycled together with within the polypropylene streams where applicable. Not everywhere does recycle the polyprop, but it is possible to recycle this. Whereas before, where you wouldn't have a mono material, you'd have maybe 2, 3, 5 layers. This is a mono, so it can be recycled together. Starfloat technology, as we call it, again, it's a shrink sleeve material. It's a polyolefin-based material. When you recycle PET, the PET has a specific gravity of over 1, meaning that it sinks in a sink flotation tank. The polyolefin material has a specific gravity less than 1, so it floats. So you can then separate the label easily from for the expensive clear PET material. Starflake, it's got a detachable It's almost like a wash-off glue so that you can easily recycle the PET containers again. You can customize it to a point, so we can use exactly the same ink technology, materials that we would use. The premiumization, as Joe was mentioning, is critical when it comes to home and body care, and this can be used in conjunction with this material, which will wash off, and then again it will float. Star wash, just a nice and easy one. A lot of the beer manufacturers are using something like this, basically within a hot caustic bottle wash. It will remove the label completely, so that you've then got the bottle in its pure form, and it can be easily recycled without so much energy recovery from the label perspective. Starshine is something that we've been developing with our suppliers, which is like a cold foil to replace the embellishments like a cold foil and the like. It's a very mirrored printable ink, helps to reduce the carbon footprint, helps to reduce the waste because it's very specific areas, rather than, if you know, with the cold foil or the hot foil technology where there is a lot of waste. So it's little things like this that we're trying to help from our side. Labels aren't going to go away, but we can at least try and make them better. And finally, just a couple of future technologies that are being looked at. You've got intelligent sorting from a digital watermark perspective. Basically, as you can see from down here, suddenly you have this hidden code within your label that is all over the label rather than just a small barcode. It can then be sorted. It can be retrofitted onto the recycling, into the recycling plants, and it can give an added value and an extra from the sorting technology. Quite an interesting one that's coming up is artificial intelligent waste sorting as well. So some of you may be able to see they are relatively clear, but you've got high-res cameras coming. It's the future, but it's also the now in some areas, whereby you can physically see exactly what's going through. It's got 100% effective. But also from a robotic perspective, manual handling of what is left is still very slow. Robots are the future in some of these areas. And last but not least, from our side, from a label perspective, liner collection. Label makeup, this is how the label is. You have a liner, the silicone layer separates it, so the label goes on the container, the liner goes away to waste. More often than not, as a customer, they would have to pay to get this removed. It would either go, again, to energy recovery, or it can be recycled, but there's a cost involved. We've come in partnership with our suppliers, whereby they're actually collecting from our customers now the liners. Now, liner takes up about 30% of the weight, approximately, depending on the material, of a label. So getting that back in and recycling it and doing something with it rather than burning it or putting it into landfill can only be a positive thing. Even from a PP side, where it's just as a wood composite, where it's being put into pallets and fence posts and the like, anything is better than just putting it into landfill. And that's me. Thanks for listening.